You know? And also he would be comparing some things to what was going on around him. You know? Saying, yeah, avoid this, brothers, avoid that. You know, there's people doing this, trying to sneak in, pretending to be of the faith, but they're really perverse and all that sort of stuff, right? They cause problems amongst us that don't have anything to do with them. Weed them out and don't have anything else to do with them. If you can't save them, tell them to move on, basically. Okay, so supposedly he took Jesus out of Judaism and borrowed the Mithraic Sunday instead of the Hebrew Sabbath. Okay, so if that's true, okay, the Sunday, that's the day of worship. No, wrong. Because, okay, if the Christ rose on the Sunday, it's the day of the Lord. That's what they consider, right? Because that's when he rose. That's it. Okay, none of the sun worshipping crap, as this guy's trying to say. Yeah. And how does this guy know exactly which day is the Sabbath? If the Hebrew Israelite calendar is really weird, right? It's when you have like 12:01, it's like we know it's as in the Western world as afternoon, right? 12:01 afternoon. Okay, but they had a weird way, like that's early evening. You know, it's divided up into certain portions. Okay, let's say the clock is divided up into certain portions, like pieces of a pie, right? And they'll say, oh, early evening, mid evening, late evening, evening, like that, right? And then in the morning, 12:01 would be like early day, early morning, something like that, something really weird. It's a real hard concept to understand, and we still get baffled by it. But yeah, you have to go look at World's Last Chance. It can be confusing sometimes, unless we have it in front of us. Yeah, but this thing still be baffling, right? But it's something like that, right? And then your Sabbaths are not every Saturday. It's a Seventh-day Adventist claim, because apparently somebody, according to World's Last Chance, there was a breach. Yeah, so they supposedly repaired that breach, and they brought out information about the true Sabbaths. Okay, that you had your your new moon. Okay, which was not a Sabbath, and maybe they had the sprinkling of the blood of this freshly culled sacrificed ram or lamb, for forgiveness of the sins of people, right? The people that sprinkled with it. But the Sabbath that they're talking about was the 2nd, the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd. Then you had the 29th, apparently, and that was the day, because they had 29 days in a month, apparently. That at night time, if you saw that moon, you saw that arch, okay, it was a sign of a new moon, and the new moon didn't appear on that. You couldn't see it on that night. You'd have an extra day, so you'd see it on the 30th, and then the next day would be the 1st. So that's a new moon, indicating also a new month, a brand new month. And then they had their breakaways from World's Last Chance, and they said, no, you're all wrong. It's the 9th, the 23rd, the 27th or something, 25th or 27th, 26th, okay, and the 30th, something like that, you know. Yeah, of course, you got to have the breakaway that doesn't agree, right? Okay, so all of the Mithraic holidays were used to fill in the mythological construct. Christmas, yeah, okay, that's, if you look at it as Christ's Mass, is where they all gathered together and remembered that at some time this Christ was born, right? That's what it means. A whole lot of Christians massed together in a church or whatever, you know, and celebrated that. Easter, well, that's probably the Herod pagan thing, right? To counteract the Passover, which is probably some sort of worship of a god called Ishtar or something, or Ashtar or something like that, right? Okay, could possibly be that. Lent and the spring resurrection festival. The Christian Mass was and is basically the old sacrament of the Mithraic Taurobolia, a symbol of a divine sacrifice of the saving effect of the blood. Okay, so this guy doesn't realise, he's not pointing that it's the Roman Catholic Church, all this stuff, right? Christians, the disciples didn't do this sort of stuff. Okay, They had their Jewish days, holidays, whatever you want to call them, celebrations. They followed those. Okay, they weren't like, okay, let's go over there and let's get a Christmas tree and put some fancy lights on it and put some presents underneath, and let's pretend to be wrapping eggs, making chocolate eggs for the Easter Bunny and Father Christmas, all that sort of crap. No, they went into that. So this guy's got it completely wrong. He's twisting it. It doesn't say he's an atheist or anything like that, but he's twisting it. All this which is relating to the Roman state and their Christian paganism, he's not saying that, right? Okay? He's not telling you in it, oh, this is the Roman Catholic Church, who, etc., or the Roman state church at that time, who did this, who did that. Okay? He's blaming all of Christianity to undermine it. And he says, well, enough of an illustrating example. His thesis, it's only a theory, right? It's guesswork. Okay? This is what the conclusions he's come to. Okay? Like a theory. It's his thesis. Stands. This is his perspective, his opinion, his view. The study of comparative religions in high school could make an enormous contribution toward erasing religious illiteracy. So what the whole idea of this is, as we found years and years ago, to remove the Bible, remove Christianity, but they replaced it with Islam. You're taking away one religion and replacing it with another. Isn't it like two-faced? Isn't it hypocritical? Hypocritical? Yes? No? Let us know in the comments below, because it sounds like really stupid to us. Take away one religion and replace it with another. That's what they were doing here in our country at the schools. They had that plan because they wanted we're not being mean to Islam or whatever, Muslims or whatever. We just bring in the truth. In this particular area in our particular country, right? This is locally, right? And within our community, it's so close to the school, right? They wanted to be so close to the school. Up the road, you got shops. It's very, very close to your houses or whatever. Okay, these people move in. Okay, they've got no money. Ooh, that's so weird. They've got no money. They've run away from their country because of terrorism or whatever, right? Okay, that's their affair. But they've got no money. Suddenly, they have big houses with big fences, fancy cars, security cameras. That's kind of strange. Why? Because they have refugee status. Now, this is a fact. We're not being biased, prejudiced, or whatever. They have refugee status. So when they come to the country, they go into one of those sort of like a camp, help, refugee camp, whatever, right? Until they're settled, and then these people help them to find a place to stay, a house, maybe get a car, all this sort of stuff. Okay, but these people have money. Because once they got all that, then they got 3 or 4 people in there who might get a job. So they got, it's well planned. They're very clever. Okay? Even the Chinese are like that. They're not money hoarders. They just know how to work the money. They've got heaps and heaps of people in there, right? And then that money helps to buy that person a house. Those people a house, that family a house, right? The other lot that's in there, their money helps to buy that person a house, right? And it keeps going like that. They're very social people. They look after their own. Look at the Indians. See about 4 or 5, 6 or 7 Indians joking with each other, walking down the street, living in the same house. And then the next minute, they get the house down the road. It's empty. And they put up a big fence, cameras and all that sort of stuff. Yeah? So obviously they got money, right? But that's the fact. They have refugee status. Okay? With us native people or Kiwis or whatever living here, we get shelved. Okay, it's like we used to go to what they call Housing New Zealand to apply for housing, right? They say, but there's a huge list, and you wait and wait and wait and wait, but other people basically getting it, before you go to the doctors for an appointment or something, or surgery or something, right? You got all your health insurance, all that sort of stuff, all the premiums, whatever, right? So there's no problem there. But you have to wait. They say, there's a 10-year waiting list. And yet, but you find these people are getting treated before you. It's just the social thing, right? It happens. Okay? It happens like that. It works like that. That's how the system works. That's why a lot of New Zealanders didn't have homes. They had to live in their cars. Because, these people got the money, so, off you go. You can't afford to stay here. Maybe it becomes a trendy place. Like Ponsonby here, Ponsonby, Auckland. There used to be Pacific Islanders living there, right? And then one day people moved in. European people put a few restaurants and all that there. It became trendy, the place to be. Restaurants, all that sort of stuff. And slowly these people got phased out because the housing costs went up. The values went up. Well, they can't afford to pay the rent anymore. Oh, so you're out of here. You're going into this area here, a poorer area. Yeah. So they're in a poorer area. They're doing all right for years and years and years. Somebody comes in with your fancy restaurants, all that sort of stuff. It becomes a trendy place, right? And then, because there's a lot of money coming in, these properties become really valuable. People want to move in there, all that, in that area sort of thing. So these other people, the rents get higher, the cost, the houses get higher, so the landlords want to sell them, right? To these rich people, whatever. So these people suddenly get phased out, right? They get put out in another poor area, that sort of thing. That's fact. Okay? If you don't believe us, you can come at us and give us your argument. If you're from here, well, we can understand. But if you're not, well, and you think, you know everything about this country, from far away, wow, genius, Okay, so, this is supposed to be excerpt from the Edallan Letter, Volume 2, Issue 9, September 1992, published monthly, a publication promoting religious literacy. So what is he saying? You better get educated, you better get literate, because you're not literate, you're illiterate. Okay? You suffer from illiteracy. Okay? So if you got literate, proficient in literature or literacy, reading, writing, etc., it would be a giant step forward in reducing your bigotry, your prejudice, and your superstitions that cripple the human spirit. Spirit. Okay? It cripples your human spirit. So you're the scapegoat. That's what this guy's doing. He's chucking it at you as a Christian, right? Okay? So I believe this book is not what the church doesn't want you to read. It's what they don't want you to read. Okay? They don't want you to read this. Well, they probably do because they make money off it, right? But really, they don't really want you to read this because you'll wake up and realise, hey man, it's not what the church is saying, it's what you're saying. That the church is saying. That we're illiterate. That we're dumb, all this sort of stuff. That we're dumbed down. Okay? Give us some credit, bro. What We Must Do by Bertrand Russell. And he states, we want to stand up on our own feet and look fair and square at the world. It's good facts, it's bad facts, it's beauties and its ugliness. See the world as it is and not be afraid of it. Yeah, okay, that's cool. Conquer the world by intelligence and not merely by being slavishly subdued by the terror that comes from it. Exactly. The whole conception of God is a conception derived from the ancient Oriental despotisms. So what does that mean? You're rebelling against, or you're plotting against a state or a government or something like that? It is a concept quite unworthy of free men. When you hear people in church debasing themselves and saying that they are miserable sinners and all the rest of it, it seems contemptible and not worthy of self-respecting human beings. They've come to a realization that they were an A-hat, that they were the nastiest person around, right? They heard about the Christ, they're convicted by the power of the Holy Spirit, and they realized I was a dick. To put it bluntly, I was a real dick to everybody, and that's why my life is poop. Okay, so they heard about Christ and they realised, and they're convicted of their sins, etc., of what their wrongdoings, and then they become a brand new person, a better person. Like, who was it? Nicky Cruz. He was like an old street gang guy. What was his name? David Wilkerson wrote about him. The Cross of the Switchblade, etc. yeah, he came to realise what he was like, right? Yeah, and it totally converted his life, changed his life. You know, when he met David Wilkerson, etc., etc. People like that, they're just so drugged up and murderous and hateful and all that sort of stuff. Like you might get a guy, well, we've seen a guy that was covered in tattoos. You know, all that sort of stuff. Was he covered in tattoos? Can't remember. Yeah, I think he was a gang member, and he killed this guy's friend, right? And then I think it was the parents, because this guy tried to stop this other guy, this gang guy, from hurting his friend or killing his friend, right? So he stepped in, he got stabbed or he got killed, whatever. So the parents met this guy, maybe through the jail, you know, one of those jail meetings or whatever. And then they said to him, "Oh, we forgive you," you know. And then they're going to invite him to their church and all that sort of stuff because they forgave him. They said, you know, he's a better life, all that sort of stuff. When you're ready, you know, when you come out, whatever, and this is what you want to do, if this is what you want to do, yeah, come see us at church. Something like that. Yeah, they were really lovely people. That's a hard thing to do. The guy killed your son, right? Murdered your son, stabbed him to death or whatever he did, right? And you forgive him. Well, that's power, man. You know? Truly forgave him. It didn't have like this hate for him and all that sort of stuff. It didn't try to pull his skin off his face or anything like that, you know, whatever. Beat him to death with a chair. No. They genuinely had forgiveness for him. A great loss, and that's what they had for him. Wow, you know. Somebody cared about him, right? Okay, so down the bottom here it says, to those searching for truth, not the truth of dogma and darkness, but the truth brought by reason, search, examination, and inquiry discipline is required. For faith, as well intentioned as it may be, must be built on facts, not fiction. Faith and fiction is the damnable false hope. Thomas A. Edison. Okay, yeah. True to a point. True to a point. Okay. But why can't it be? Why can't your faith, your trust, your hope be based around your life experiences, right? You come to the realization, damn, I was an asshat, you know? Look what I did to my family, da 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 da. You know, that sort of stuff. I need to change. And then you come across say some Christians or whatever, you go to the church and then you hear about God, the Christ, whatever, and you can be forgiven, cleansed from all your sins, all that sort of stuff, right? You can start anew. Yeah, wow, that would take a lot of weight off your shoulders, right? And then, what was it, Nicky Cruz? We sort of wandered off. This Nicky Cruz guy, like no kids would go near him in the street, right? Because he knew he was a badass gangster and all this sort of stuff. But when he became a Christian, like, it's just something about him, and they just flocked to him, you know. People just flocked to him, like they couldn't get enough of him because he completely changed, right? So yeah, why not base your religion on faith, hope, trust in all the scriptures, the disciples, what the disciples said, the apostles, whatever, right? Okay, as a foundation. Yeah. Faith or belief is good, but you got to get to the stage where you know it, right? So no one can shake you off your foundation, which is Jesus Christ, right? Okay, you're solid on it. No one can move you from it, sway you from it. Not the devil, not man, nobody. Yeah? Because it's conviction, isn't it? You get convicted, right? Also, you realise, damn, I was an asshat. Okay? You come to that realisation, that revelation. I need to change. Identify in Christ, accept Christ, you're forgiven for your sins, and you start this new life, and it's like, wow, it blows your mind, right? You know, I'm not that a-hat I was before. Nobody has to be in fear of me anymore. You know, I won't take any crap, you know. But yeah, it's a massive change that they undergo. Okay, so this Bertrand Russell here saying some good things. Yeah, we ought to stand up and look the world frankly in the face. We ought to make the best we can of the world. And if it's not so good as we wish, after it will still be better than what these others have made of it in all these ages. A good world needs knowledge, kindness, and courage. It does not need a regretful hankering after the past or a fettering of the free intelligence by the words uttered long ago by ignorant men. Who said they were ignorant? They were human beings. They had their faults, they had their flaws, but they weren't ignorant. Because they believed in the Christ, they were ignorant. When did that come about? Okay, it needs a fearless outlook and a free intelligence. Yeah, all he's saying here is, yeah, pretty much, yeah, we can agree with that. It needs hope for the future and not looking back all the time. Yeah, you can look into the past to learn from the philosophers, from the sages, from the disciples, the apostles, the holy books, all that sort of stuff. But with it, you got to keep going forward. Okay, you can't keep going back and wearing Roman sandals, putting on a sheet, and growing long hair and a beard, and eating only figs, You're going backwards instead of forwards. Use the old to become the new, to promote the new, to create the new, to generate the new, right? What do you call that thing? Modernization? Yeah, update it. You gain strength and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. There you go. Eleanor Roosevelt. Okay? So this Bertrand Russell says that you need to have a fearless outlook and a free intelligence. You need hope for the future, not looking back all the time to what our past is dead. But don't be looking back to your dead ancestors. Okay, well, what are they doing? They're in the grave, they're dead. Are they like appearing to you, coming to you every day, saying, "Oh, you should brush your teeth, should comb your hair, or should live like this and that"? No, they're dead. They're in the grave, or in another world somewhere, in the afterlife. Yeah, that's what it's really talking about. That's what it should be really meaning. Christ is a living being, a spirit being. He's not dead. Okay? He did die, but he rose again. He ascended and went and sat at the right hand of his Father. That's why he said he's the life. He's the living. Okay? He'll be coming back to judge the living and the dead. Does a spirit die? Does a spirit really die? Does a soul really die? Supposedly it lives on. Well, look at the scriptures. Okay, it doesn't say, it says you die the physical death, right? But then you go to judgment, all that sort of stuff, and you go on to an afterlife. One of two destinies, eternal destinies. So your soul goes on, doesn't it? According to the scriptures. Well, it must do if you either go to paradise, kingdom of God, and go to paradise, live forever, or you go to the other not so nice place and live forever and go through all that forever and ever and ever. So the soul must live on. Zoroastrianism, blueprint for Christianity and Judaism. Zarathustra is the Iranian word for Zoroaster, who founded a religion in ancient Persia. It was he who roused in mankind the need for the hatred of unworthy things. Yeah, all that was abominable, unrighteous, all that sort of stuff. Thereby discovering the devil and incidentally paradise, the last judgment, and the resurrection of the dead. Mithraism is an offshoot, and Christianity stole some of the popular Zoroastrian beliefs. Okay, did the Mesopotamian, the Apostolic Church of the East, etc., did they steal something from them? They probably borrowed their icon, their winged disc icon, from Persia, because it looks pretty similar, just these different variances in it. Yeah, they borrow it, they adapt it, they adopt it, they make it better, whatever, right? But, do they steal all of their religion? Okay, all of their ideas? Yes, sometimes they may have gone, like the Jews, whatever, went to Persia, were living there, and they picked up some religious ideas, probably adopted their language, whatever, right? Nothing wrong with that. And they probably took some bits of their religion and said, well, we can make it better here if we just, that's a good idea. What we do is we'll add it to here. And then if they claimed it as their original, it's plagiarism, isn't it? You know? They adopted and adapted. Same as Zoroastrianism. This Zarathustra, he might have, picked up from these Jews, these Christians, whatever, and plagiarized some of their stuff. So this guy was saying they stole it. It's like, they're a thief. You're a robber. You're a criminal. That's what he's saying. It's more like they adopted and adapted it, borrowed it, not stole it. You robber, you thief, like that. These guys are trying to put across. Perhaps it says here, Ahura Mazda was the lord of light and wisdom in ancient Iranian mythology. They have different ideas. Originally an equal of Mithra, god of light and justice. That's that one that the Romans got into and all that sort of stuff. He was later elevated to the supreme being by the prophet Zoroaster. Okay, so the Romans are thieves as well. They stole. They stole from the Persians. They were thieves. They were robbers. They stole from the Persians. There you go. How do you like that? Perhaps a stark contrast found on the Iranian plateau, steep-sided mountains and flat valleys, bitterly cold winters and boiling hot summers encouraged the singular rethinking of myth. Certainly it had an effect on the attitudes of the peoples who came under Iranian domination. Well, that's the government, isn't it? That's their leaders forcing them, right? Trying to control them. It may even be seen to linger on in the outlook of certain Christians and Muslims today. If you have told you have to wear this, you have to cover your hands, your face, your whole body, you have to do this, you have to do that, or else there's punishment to follow, you're breaking the law and all this sort of stuff, we'll come around and hit you on the head with a stick or something, all that sort of stuff. We'll put you in a pit and throw rocks at you. Yeah, that's control by force, by threat, by fear. Okay? That's that system, those leaders trying to control you, make you a robot. You don't dare question what they say, or else there's a punishment, a consequence for doing so. The religion which might have been ours in 480 BC on a marble throne high above the narrow strait which stretched before the island of Salamis, not Salamis, in the southern coast of Attica, the great Xerxes sat waiting. Remember that guy on 300? Yeah, that's exaggerated. They're making him like a hermaphrodite. Sat waiting to watch his navy defeat the Greek fleet. At his back burned the city of Athens, fired by the torches of his soldiers. At the pass of Thermopylae lay the bodies of 300 Spartans. Well, actually, supposedly Herodotus got it wrong, and it's actually 900. The Athenians left, but there was these other ones that stayed behind, and they died with them. Spartans were dead of their leader, Leonidas, slain by the Asiatic host of the Persian Empire. There remained only the task of destroying the Greek fleet, to wipe out the bitter shame of the Persian failure at Marathon 10 years before, and to establish the Persian Empire in Greece, from which it could sweep throughout Europe. Yeah, because he was basically trying to follow the footsteps of his father Darius, but apparently he wasn't as good as that guy. He just couldn't do it. He lost a lot of battles or something like that. The Persian ships outnumbered the Greek fleet 3-1 and were of heavier construction, but the Greeks, using the same superior strategy at sea that Miltiades had used on land at Marathon, sank 200 of the Persian vessels, captured others, and drove the rest from the strait. Yeah, because apparently there's this harbour or something where it was very sort of like narrow, right? And they had to come through that. So yeah, they got them like that, something like that. Check the history books. Maybe Herodotus talks about that, or something like that. The flight of the terror-stricken Xerxes signalled not only the end of his dream of conquest in Europe, but also a vastly changed religious prospect for the Western world. For according to no less an authority than the late Max Muller, we read a lot of books with him in it, and it's really good. He's really good. Had it not been for the Persians' defeats at the decisive battles of Marathon and Salamis, No, it's not salamis. If, in other words, I feel like some salami. Maybe we'll go up the road and buy some. The western march of the Persian Empire had not been stopped there. Zoroastrianism, rather than Judeo-Christianity, might have been the prevailing religion of Europe and the Americas. Yet in spite of these crushing military and naval defeats, with the resulting decline of the Persian Empire and the eventual near extinction of Zoroastrianism, so great was this religion's vitality and so appealing to the human heart were many of its conceptions and precepts that much of Zarathustra's creed lives on in the religions of Christianity and Judaism today. Yep, we have come across a very nice person on a social chat site. He was into Zoroastrianism. What if this religion, instead of Judeo-Christianity, had become our faith? Would we have a vastly different theology and code of ethical conduct? We would believe in a loving Father God who is omniscient and concerned with the welfare of his children. We would have, instead of Jesus, Zarathustra, who, while not peculiarly the Son of God, was sent to earth by God to spread his doctrine and to do his work. We would look forward to the kingdom of God. We would have the ancient statement of a region of darkness and a region of light, of heaven and hell, of the good power in conflict with the evil. We would have Angara Mainu instead of Satan, a mere difference in name. We would have angels and archangels. We would have a statement of the final resurrection of the dead, very similar to that in the Judeo-Christian Bible. These things we have now, did they come to us from the pious and vigorous mind of Zarathustra, by way of the later prophets of Israel and Christ, or were they original conceptions of Judeo-Christianity? How well acquainted the chroniclers of the Jewish Old Testament were with the Persian branch of the Indo-European wanderers is evidenced by their frequent references to the Medes and the Persians. But there is also definite evidence of borrowing from Zoroastrianism in the religious creeds of which Christianity absorbed from later Judaism. Yeah, they all borrowed from each other, took pieces from there, trying to make it better, right? More palatable. Did these people not think about that? Up to the time of the exile, the source of both good and evil in the religion of the Israelites was thought to be the God Jehovah. But after the exile, which is to say, after the influence of Zarathustra's monotheistic doctrine began to be felt, the Old Testament writers recorded the doctrine that Jehovah was the one God of the universe and a God of pure righteousness, while Satan was charged with all evil creations. It is probable that Satan, or the devil of later Judaism and Christianity, is none other than Angara Mainu, the archdeva of Zoroastrianism. So that deva is like supreme being or God, goddess, right? You know, that's why you have Elton John diva, you have Beyonce diva, etc., etc. Mariah Carey, they're all divas. Yeah, they're gods and goddesses. Probably in that Freemason thing, you know, the Illuminati, whatever, New World Order. Yeah, they're all little gods, you know, goddesses, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, okay, so maybe this guy really does know what he's talking about, because we have seen videos of rabbis, a French accented rabbi, who said, no, we don't believe in. How can an angel be, you know, created by God to do the will of God and then suddenly change his mind, you know, and become evil and all that sort of stuff? No. Rubbish, he's basically saying, right? Okay? And he made this comparison with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder, right? There was Charlie, who, him and his grandfather floated up the top, drinking that soda pop or whatever it was, and they had bubbles and all that sort of stuff, burnt bubbles, you know, come back down, and they touched the roof, right? And he had this everlasting gobstopper because that assistant, I think it was Wilkerson, you know, to each child he said, you know, oh, okay, if you can get me a everlasting gobstopper, you can have all the chocolate, you know, all your lifetime, right, of chocolate and money and all this sort of stuff, whatever you want, right? So yeah, Charlie grabbed one, right? But when Wonka scolded him, right, and he said, you know, you touched this pop, soda pop, you floated up and you touched the roof or whatever, and you made it unclean, so I had to get everybody to clean it, all the Oompa Loompas, right? etc., etc. You broke the rules, etc., etc., etc. And you, according to, he went like that, right? And Charlie, was quite upset being a young boy. But his grandfather said, "How could you?" and all that sort of stuff. He's just a little boy, And he says, "Good day, sir," all that sort of stuff, right? But Charlie said, "Oh, okay." I think he apologised, and he gave him back his everlasting gobstopper, right? So, Gene Wilder, really brilliant actor, right? He turns to the left, and he smiles, and like Charlie's looking at him, and the grandfather's looking at him, whatever, and he's like, "You did it, my boy, you did it," blah 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 blah. And he goes, "You've got he needs someone to take care of the Oompa Loompas in the factory, right? Got all the chocolate, you got all the chocolate, blah 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 blah, lifetime supply of chocolate." He says, "But because you're so honest," the kid was so honest, he got to rule the factory, right? To look after the factory when Wonka dies, okay? Because he was so honest. He was the only one that gave that frickin' everlasting gobstopper back. They stole, right? They all stole something, and that's why they went down the chute, because they're all wicked, dishonest, bratty and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, he ended up winning the run of the factory and looking after the Oompa Loompas and all that sort of stuff, right? So this French accented rabbi said, you compare that Wilkerson like that, because Charlie thought that this guy was an evil agent, right? Working against him. He said, Wonka, but he said, no, this is Wilkerson. He's my assistant. So he says, compare the devil with Wilkerson, right? He's an assistant to God. He puts people to test temptation and all that sort of stuff, right? Try to make them fall, all this sort of stuff. He's the adversary, okay? It's a whole big test apparently by God. Okay, you got scriptures that say, "Oh, don't say God tests you because blah blah blah. You are tested by your lust, your perversions, whatever, all your desires, all this sort of stuff." Yeah, okay, yeah, but that's what this French rabbi is saying, right? Okay, there's like adversary. He's a helper. Okay, he's working for God to put you through all those tests to see how, as a Christian, etc., how faithful you would be. Okay, he did that to Abraham. Yeah, it's kind of strange how in the Old Testament Abraham gets put through this test, he passes, but then I think it's James in the New Testament says, don't say God's testing you because he doesn't test you. You're tested by your own lusts, perversions, whatever, right? Okay, something not right there. Okay, yeah, so this guy goes on some more, okay, but Zoroastrianism, undermining it, the power of the sun.